Jason, it's such a pleasure to be here this morning. Thank you so much for the invite, and thanks to everybody at DMI. I really admire all of the work that you're doing. DMI is such an important organization as far as all things happening in Madison in terms of economic development and support of businesses and things going on. So thank you for the good work that you're doing. It's greatly appreciated. As I told Anne, Madeline, and Jason just a few minutes ago, I am coming off of a marathon 3 days of Forward Fest, Governor's Council on Workforce Investment, strategic planning, 9 hours at a time, Post-it notes on the wall. So I am only 1.5 cups of coffee in, so please bear with me. Feel free to stop me at any point as I'm starting to go through the presentation. Some of the information is information that all of you know, and I hope some of it is new and exciting. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. I also have 5,000 tabs open, which is probably not ideal.
Well, your 1.5 cups of coffee is probably me at full strength anyways. So you're doing great. And it's showing on now.
Good, fabulous. So StartingBlock, for those of you who are not aware, is a 50,000 square foot state-of-the-art entrepreneurial space in the Capitol East neighborhood of downtown Madison. One of the things that I love the most about StartingBlock is some of the amazing artwork that's inside the space. So it always feels really fresh and hip and important. And so this is a member of my team, Mark Yarmoff, standing in front of one of my favorite spaces. This beautiful street art is something I get to look at every single day that I'm at the office. So it's always such a pleasure to be there. For those of you who have not toured the space, everything about it is absolutely beautiful. Every consideration was made as the project was put together for spaces for entrepreneurs to be effective in their work, to network, and most importantly, to have a really nice space to hold meetings and move things forward. So the StartingBlock project would not have been possible without the support of some of the amazing folks in 2012 who had the idea that it would be possible for entrepreneurs to have a space such as StartingBlock, to fundraise for it and to make it a reality so that Madison became known as an entrepreneurial hub. And so my predecessor, Chandra, who I think many of you know, was a big piece of that. Other members of my board who are pictured here, Scott Resnick, Forrest Woolworth, Heather Wentler, Troy from Generator, these folks and several others who are not pictured here, including Pam Christensen, Ann Smith, these people were instrumental in making the project move forward. And so after years of fundraising and dreaming and lots of hard work, in 2018, they opened the doors for the first time. So what do we offer at StartingBlock? StartingBlock has memberships that start at just $100 a month. So to be in a premium space as an entrepreneur for just $100 a month is really incredible. StartingBlock memberships offer not only office space, but access to meeting rooms, incredible common spaces for events. We're also offering vision, dental, life insurance, and telehealth services right now for members, which we'll get into in a little bit here. For entrepreneurs that are not interested in just office space, there is flexible space, dedicated desks, and then also the flexibility of weekend memberships for entrepreneurs who are on the go. You know, maybe there are some entrepreneurs that have kids and other full-time responsibilities during the week, but they want to come in on the weekends and feel the energy of the space and just be part of things to whatever extent they can. They can just come in the weekends if they would like to. At StartingBlock, we offer our members access to experts, which is one of the things that really sets us apart from other, quote unquote, co-working spaces. So we're lucky to have tons of partners who are experts in the field of entrepreneurship, Capital Entrepreneurs, Merlin Mentors, Doyen, Generator, Bunker Labs, the Law and Entrepreneurship Clinic. And then we also have access to capital right in our space. So people that are interested in doing some fundraising or learning some best practices for fundraising as they're trying to move their startups along, they can meet with Rock River Capital right in our space. One of the things that StartingBlock prides itself on is strong connections with UW-Madison, MATC, Edward College, and also some of the high schools in the area. What we're trying to do with that is make sure that students understand that they have access to these resources, and we want to educate them early on about what these resources can do to help to move their ideas forward and inspire entrepreneurship for all people. One of the things that's really special about StartingBlock, and the thing that I'm the most proud of, is that members and members of the general public too, should they want to come in and experience some of this, have access to programming and then also carefully curated experts. So anything that you need as a startup, financial, human resources, access to capital, best practices for how to pitch your idea, elevator speeches, access to grants. We have a schedule of office hours with the WEDC, with WIBIC, with the SBA, SBDC, and other experts who are willing to come in and just sit down and take 15-minute meetings with people. Some of those also happen virtually. And please stop me. I feel like I'm talking a tremendous amount. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to stop me. One of the things that I think is really special about StartingBlock is we do allow dogs in the space. So while I wasn't entirely sure about that when I first started, it really is kind of a pleasure to see these adorable little furry friends in the space. And most of the time they're just doing their own thing and hanging out with their owners and just offering some adorable support during the day. One of the things that we've been really excited about at StartingBlock is the fact that we are now offering benefits for members. So it's really important to us to do everything that we can to eliminate barriers to entrepreneurship. And what we've found statistically and otherwise is that benefits actually do fit into that category, almost in the #1 slot. So right now, members have access to vision, dental, life insurance, and then also telehealth services. That includes food and nutrition, mental health, dermatology, and then meeting and diagnosis appointments with a doctor. And so the telehealth services start at just $16 a month, which is incredibly affordable for people. And the vision, dental, life insurance packages start at $25 a month. So whether you have one person on your team or 15, you can buy into these plans in a cafeteria style format. So you can have whatever you need. So this has been something that people who are members of StartingBlock have been incredibly grateful for, and we're looking forward to continuing to expand this effort. One of the other things that we've been working on is our Innovate 608 podcast. I'm pretty sure Madison.com is dropping the latest episode right now, so please be sure to tune in. It's with Governor Tony Evers. Season 1 is going to have a total of 21 episodes and is available via Madison.com as one of our sponsors or anywhere that you podcast. So you can get it on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all of those things. And the reason for the podcast is that the pandemic gave us a chance as an organization to start thinking about different ways that we could reach people effectively. We also acknowledge as an organization that not everybody has a schedule where they're able to attend 8 a.m. meetings or noon meetings for that matter, and that it was important to get real and candid information out to entrepreneurs who are thinking about making the big leap into full-time entrepreneurship. So we have interviews with experts in different fields, as well as CEOs to talk about their experiences, the best parts, the most exciting parts, and then also importantly, the failures and some of the low times. It's important to have some of those real conversations. And so far, the podcast has been incredibly successful, and we're really looking forward to what comes next there. So I mentioned this briefly, but the pandemic has definitely changed things for StartingBlock just a little bit, as it has for everyone. The increase in interest in entrepreneurship has been pretty tremendous. That is a statistic that's happening nationwide, but particularly in Madison and in the state of Wisconsin, it's been sort of overwhelming is not a positive word, but we're just going to go with that for right now. There are so many people that are interested in entrepreneurship because the pandemic gave them an opportunity to think about what was really important, what their needs were that weren't being met, and how they wanted to live their lives going forward. So we've seen a tremendous increase, particularly in the social impact space. There are a lot of people that are interested in making a difference in the world. Nonprofit space, we've also seen a lot of new tech entities and entities that provide tech service, as well as entrepreneurial support entities, and a lot of interest from angel investors and those who fund entrepreneurs. So at StartingBlock right now, I'm very happy to say that while we weren't entirely sure how things were going to go, we're full. We don't have any offices that are available right now. And it feels really good to be able to provide some of the support that's needed. Right now, we have 374 active access cards to StartingBlock. So our various entities have a varying amount of employees and teams that enter, and 74 unique entities. Some of our new members of note, Filament Games moved in not that long ago, Red Fox AI, which I'm not sure if you've seen some of the news updates about them, but they are getting some coverage in Madison, and then Run Across America. So what's next for StartingBlock? We are looking to continue to innovate as much as humanly possible, just like the people that we serve. And we are always looking for innovative approaches. We have some pilot programs in mind, some of them about looking at the inside of our space and evaluating some of the interior. The pandemic really changed the way that people like to work and like to interact. So we want to take the opportunity to try to rework and rethink some of the spaces that maybe worked before the pandemic, but maybe aren't getting as much use now. We also will have the opportunity relatively soon to offer comprehensive health insurance via a pilot program with courts that we're working on. So that's very exciting, and we'll see what that looks like exactly. And then we're interested in continuing to work with our partners who are also in the entrepreneurial support space and co-working space by offering reciprocal services. So what that might mean is that if I'm working in Eau Claire for the day, I can take my StartingBlock badge and just badge in to CoLab in Eau Claire. I can work in Green Bay, I can work in Milwaukee, I can work at 100 State instead of at StartingBlock. So there are some things that we've been talking about within the startup and entrepreneurial support community. And I think that there are several folks who are really interested in participating in that. So if all goes well, and we'll see what's next kind of with the pandemic, but we will be testing out that reciprocity type service. And then also just new styles of programming. Everyone has, not everyone, but the way that people are paying attention to information is changing. And so we realize that we need to change the way that we provide information. So we're looking at, instead of e-newsletters, doing quick 3-minute updates via YouTube with actual people talking. We're also talking about utilizing TikTok a little bit more frequently for educational purposes. People really like the 3 minutes and under type of information. And then most importantly, based on the success of our recent social impact cohort, where we graduated some really incredible people doing really fantastic work, we are looking at ways that we can offer the social impact cohort year round. So that would mean as much as twice a year. And if we had the bandwidth and the staff, maybe even as much as 3 times a year. And so then finally, I would just like to invite everyone to come and see us. So I'm going to be, we've got some free day passes to StartingBlock, and I'm going to get those to Jason. And Jason, I would be super grateful if you'd be willing to just pass those out to folks. I would love for everyone to come and experience the space. I would love to give you a tour, and I would really like to hear some of your ideas and ways that you think that we might continue to best serve entrepreneurs in Madison. And so with that, in a very dry mouth at this point, I'm going to stop chatting. Does anyone have any questions or comments? And should I stop sharing, Jason?
Yeah, that would be amazing. And then I think we already do have questions. So if you have a question, Nora wants to take questions. We've got plenty of time. Either send it to the chat or just raise your hand physically. Maybe we can see you because, well, I guess we got more than one page. But you use the raise hand function at the bottom in reactions, the raise hand function. But we do already have a question for you. But before we get to that question, I got to give a huge shout out to Nora for a couple of huge things they've done for DMI. One, she has been a huge part of the pop-up shop program happening on State Street, which we had a conversation with just a few days ago. Nora ran an amazing pop-up shop program, and Viroqua brought a lot of great experience and is really helping the program on State Street. So Nora, from all of us at DMI, thank you very much. And then I want to acknowledge there are 2 DMI members in the social impact cohort. And one of them is on right now, Peter Gray and Peter Gray Executive Search, and then Dane Mack with Rachel Sattler, yes, that Rachel Sattler, my wife, and Kim Kern. So we're just so excited. And it was amazing to see them do the pitches last Friday. Just a fantastic event. So thank you for running that. And just a personal thank you.
Yes, of course.
Yes. So we've got the first question from Susan, who says, love to hear more about the health insurance. Who is the provider? Is it just for people at StartingBlock? Who is eligible for this type of insurance?
Yep. So it's just for StartingBlock at this time. We have kind of talked about other ways that we can sort of increase the bandwidth of it and how some of the reciprocity arrangements might do just that. We are working with an entity out of Sun Prairie, and right now it's escaping me, Susan, so I am happy to send you additional information, but they were the ones that put together this cafeteria style plan. Many of you are probably familiar with association plans. That was something that was a thing at one point, and basically what this is it's a differently structured association plan. And it took a lot of, does that answer that for you, Susan?
Yeah, it does. It just, there's such a great need for affordable health care out there for smaller businesses and individuals and stuff. So and when you talked about the cost of it and what they get for that, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
To be available. I mean, who else could use this? Like plenty of people. So no, you answer my question. So be interesting to know more. And I know I could call you. So thanks.
Yeah. Well, and Susan, one of the things I just wanted to mention is that one of the aspects of the Healthiest You app that is used the most, at least that I'm hearing, is the 7 days a week mental health services. There are a lot of people that are calling in, COVID caused a lot of kind of mental health challenges for people. And from what I have heard, it's a really, really nice service. So some of these things I'd like to test out for myself just so that I can give a better, explanation and descriptor, but apparently it's really fantastic service.
Yep. That's really good to hear. Thanks.
Wait, can I add something, Nora? Don't forget
Sure,
that people can join StartingBlock at the Flex membership, which is pretty inexpensive if they want to participate.
Yes, wonderful point, Scott. Absolutely, wonderful point.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, more questions. Oh, Ann.
I can jump in with one. I was wondering, Nora, could you tell us, and I don't think you touched on this very much, about what you think the trajectory is for a member or company in StartingBlock? I mean, now you're full of your offices and you have kind of membership still available, but do you see companies coming out of StartingBlock? Where are they going? Are they retaining their membership afterwards? Or, in a pandemic, is it just a holding pattern right now? But I think as a generator for folks coming out of it, what has the churn been like and what do you see the path as?
Mm-hmm. Over the last year, we've only really had one entity that's kind of graduated out of StartingBlock and gone to a new location. So Soha Diamonds started in a smaller office, and now they have a beautiful spot on the square. And so they were just incredibly grateful for all of the services that they have received, and also just unbelievably proud of their new location. So it really feels good to go and visit them and see the success that they've had. But right now what we're seeing, a lot of people are kind of staying put, but there will always be opportunities for movement within the space. We just happen to be booked solid right now.
I want to add one more thing. There
Yeah,
are
of course.
people within the space who've moved, who have keep growing into different spaces, which is really an important opportunity that we've seen.
Yep.
Thanks. I just want to add for folks who haven't seen the Soha Diamond space, it is right on the Capitol Square in the US Bank building. And we're really proud of it too, ULI is, and happy to have them there. I actually forgot that they came out of Starting Block. So that's an exciting story.
I mean, is that not just an advertisement for what Starting Block is doing, the pop-up shop program, and how you can incubate these businesses into brick and mortar businesses that are literally right in the center of downtown? It's pretty awesome example. More questions for Melinda. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Jason, and thank you for your presentation, Nora. I just was curious, I'm president of the Madison Public Schools Foundation. Just any interactions you're having with Madison Public Schools, and of course we'd love to help be a bridge between the two if that's a conversation that's of interest, but just curious what might be happening currently. Thank you.
Yeah. That's a wonderful question, Melinda. We're really interested in working with students to, one of the things that's happening is sort of an addition to entrepreneurship is more arts and music and some other things. And so we're very interested. Dane County Arts recently just joined Starting Block, and they've got some folks that are in the space on a fairly regular basis. And what we're interested in doing, particularly with the proximity to East High School, is having some students come in and use resources that we have, like the podcast studio, come up with some interesting ways that we can display additional art in the space, and work with them as entrepreneurs, not only to tell their story, which is a really important part of the last 15 months, but to expose them to entrepreneurship and to the community.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we have a question from John Tucker. It says, other startups collaborating, are they working more independently? Maybe right now in COVID and then pre-COVID.
Yeah, I think, there's a little bit of both. There are some folks that are doing quite a bit of collaborating. One of the nice things to see at Starting Block is how many different entities are working together in one way or the other, either providing services to each other or figuring out ways to expand the service that they offer through collaboration. Dane County Arts right now is working with one of our other members to start to figure out some ways to refine one of their new ideas. And some of these things are not things that I'm able to share right now, but I think a really beautiful result comes from people with different perspectives and approaches working together to create something. So we are seeing that, and there is collaboration in the space.
Thank you very much. More questions. We got Ron up next.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation this morning, Nora.
Yeah.
In the past, in the media, it's been reported that there's not as much entrepreneurial activity in Wisconsin as there are in other parts of the country or the Midwest. And I'm just wondering if you might take a minute or two and put into context where we are right now in Madison and of course, Milwaukee, our biggest city in the state, and the extent to which maybe we're catching up a bit. And also, if you could comment on angel investors and the interest of angel investors in Madison, Milwaukee, and Wisconsin entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all great questions. So I think that while the numbers aren't showing it quite yet, in the next year or so, we are going to see a dramatic increase in entrepreneurship just in general, based on the things that we're seeing at Starting Block, based on the things that they're seeing in Milwaukee and at Titletown Tech in Green Bay. So while I don't have exact numbers, some things that I was referencing last night as I was preparing for this presentation, in general, in the United States, entrepreneurship is up 95% in the last year. So I think based on what we're seeing at StartingBlock and based on what some of our partner entities are seeing and other folks that are doing the work that we're doing, entrepreneurship is definitely on the rise. As far as angel investing, there are many, many different opportunities for startups and people with great ideas to approach investors in Madison and also throughout the state. There are actually some investors that are flying in today from the East Coast who are interested in meeting with some folks out of StartingBlock. So there are continued opportunities. I think there's more interest in Madison as far as investment, and angel investors are always looking for projects. So at StartingBlock, we really try to assist entrepreneurs and startups in getting their pitches together, using the right methods to contact these people and to have success in fundraising.
So thanks, Ron. More questions for Nora.
Nora, you mentioned some of the spaces that you have in StartingBlock, but one thing that a lot of folks are looking for are places in the pandemic to safely come together. And I don't know enough about your spaces and hosting capability, but as some of us wrestle with where to have meetings and how to have meetings, are there spaces in StartingBlock that we could take advantage of that we would see during our guest passes?
Yes. So the short answer is yes. One of the things, the meeting spaces are always in high demand with our members. So we try to make sure that if anyone who is not a member entity is interested in using a space, that it's not already spoken for. But there are some opportunities to meet outside, which especially during a pandemic is very helpful. And then we have some spaces also on the third floor that are common shared areas that if we get permission from American Family, we're able to allow folks to use those as well.
It occurs to me that that could be also a good way for if StartingBlock spaces are all taken and DMI members like ULI or some Old National, et cetera, have spaces that we could offer to some of your members to expose them to stuff on the square. Maybe that's something that we could keep in mind and think about in the future to have kind of a collaboration there.
Definitely. I think that's a great idea.
Look at the innovation happening. I like it. So speaking of actually your neighbors, one question that came in earlier was about what's your relationship with the immediate neighbors you have in the Cap East district, right? Which is sort of a burgeoning area in on its own. How are you working with directly the buildings around you and all this development activity and sort of larger quality of life, right? The Sylvie, the Bree Stevens, all of this stuff that's happening. How does that function and how is that a part of what StartingBlock does?
That's a really good question, Jason. There isn't as much collaboration and connection right now due to the pandemic and this new surge that we're experiencing right now. One of the things that has been discussed is having a block party where all of us participate. Some offer food, some offer entertainment, some offer tours and space and all of that. And that's something that just depending on how things go with COVID may need to be tabled. But there is a lot of interest in that neighborhood for people working together and trying to create events and opportunities for people in Madison to come see what we do and check out our area.
Yeah, it just seems to be that, there's just so much life and activity. I mean, you literally walk out of StartingBlock and there's a restaurant right there and there's a 2,500 seat theater and you just have all of this happening. And I've been down for a game at Breeze and you just feel the energy. And so much of that is part of what's happening at StartingBlock, right? And the rest of the building, right? It's Spark and what's happening at the Gephardt and Google and Spaces and all these different things that are literally happening on your half a block.
Right.
In Smith around the corner and a new potential project. There's just a lot happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy for sure. And we're incredibly grateful for all of our neighbors and all of the good work that's happening in that area. I did
We
want to
also had a question.
mention.
Oh, yeah, please, Nora.
I did want to mention one of the things that we've been working on. Dr. Anthony from the Urban League has visited Starting Block on a couple of occasions to look at our project, and also as they start to put together their project on Park Street. He and I have had lots of conversations about working together in the future, and also offering a reciprocity arrangement between our two entities in an effort to try to expose more people to all the good work that's happening at Starting Block, and to expose our members to all the good work that he's going to be doing. So we're really excited about that partnership and relationship going forward.
That's awesome to hear. And even more connections between DMI. Dr. Anthony is a DMI board member. So it's great to hear, and was a presenter at this committee 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I don't know what time is anymore with COVID. Another question we had was about the startup economy, which you sort of brought up before, and how much, what does it say, 95% increase in startup activity. You know, talking to Michelle with the Small Business Development Center, with the folks at WIBIC, I mean, everyone is saying the same things. And it really seems like it's not just people that are interested in the idea, but they're starting to actually launch things out, because the pandemic now has been around for 18 months. How do you see the legs that could come from this sort of COVID surge in entrepreneurship?
You know, I think all of this is incredibly exciting, and I think it's an opportunity for all of the experts in Madison and in Dane County to set an example for the rest of the state and work together in a really impactful way. We have a lot of experts that offer a lot of good services, and I think if we can figure out ways to combine our services and work on best practices as a group, that we're going to be incredibly strong and offer the best possible outcomes, because there's nothing sweeter for economic development than successful entrepreneurship. And I think we're at a place where none of us are able to do it individually. And if we can all work together and provide comprehensive service to these people and give them what they need, we're going to have some really exciting outcomes.
Yeah, I mean, speaking on the outcomes, yesterday's news on the Inc. fastest 1,000. How many did we have from Madison? It was 8 or 9 or 10, 4 in the top 500. You know, Fetch and several other companies. That's we can see that coming out of Starting Block. There's no question. Any more questions for Nora and Mark?
I don't mean to keep jumping in here. I wish other folks would, but I do. If there aren't other questions, you're coming off this busy week with Forward Technology Fest, and you mentioned some of the work you're doing with a governors group that I didn't catch completely. But if you've had enough time to reflect on that, could you share any of what you've learned from this week, or where you think things are going in the state with your work on that committee?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I haven't even had time to digest all of it, Anne. So first of all, Forward Fest, I'll just start with that. Forward Fest has been a really incredible experience this year. I think part of it is because it's my first year experiencing Forward Fest where I have my feet under me. So last year, Forward Fest happened right after I started at Starting Block. And so it was a little bit of a whirlwind. There was a lot going on at the time. But it's been really outstanding to see the turnout happening at events, both virtual and in person, for Forward Fest this year, and the enthusiasm for it. We had several events at Starting Block. Most of the virtual ones had at least 45 people at them. And then we had about 100 people at Starting Block just the other day for a rooftop social with some of our partners. So all of those things feel really good. There feels like the energy is really noticeable and exciting. And then as far as the things going on, I can't speak to a ton of the stuff with the Governor's Council on Workforce Investment, but what I can say is there are lots of very incredible people working to make sure that people in this state have access to opportunities, and that they're supported, starting at an educational level, and then as they move through their careers and their time in the state. So entrepreneurship is on the agenda for that committee, and support of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a big goal for the governor and his office right now. So I think there are a lot of exciting things that are on the horizon.
I think we're really lucky as downtown Madison to have your voice on that commission. So
Thanks.
exciting.
I just want to second that, I mean, the work you're doing, Nora, is fantastic and is impacting our whole community, but particular downtown. So we are very thankful. And we even share so many board members like
I know. How great is
Ann
that?
Christensen and we got a couple more minutes here. Any more questions for Nora? We've also got Scott here. We've got Peter, who's part of the social impact cohort. We've got Mark. We've got lots of different people.
Well, I guess I'll just ask Scott and Mark too. Is there anything that I didn't highlight that you guys think should be part of the conversation today?
Well, I'm just amazed that you caught your breath long enough to actually do this presentation this morning. So kudos for that. No, to your point, Jason, Nora has hit the ground running, right? When we began the hiring process at StartingBlock, it was at the beginning of the pandemic. So funny story, Nora's been on the job for what, Nora? Yeah, 18 months, something.
Like 13.
Okay, see, it just seems longer. Time, right? Time, Jason. And she had not met Pam Christensen in person till 3 weeks ago at Concerts on the Square, and that's the world we're living in, right? And so we got her going and realized pretty quickly who we had, and said, hey, what all can we do? The benefits packages that are being offered, which a lot of organizations have been trying to do, that's kind of Nora's thing. And she said, we need to do this, not we want to do this, we need to do this, and we'll find a way. And so couldn't be happier. That I think one thing we haven't mentioned, it's sort of this big backdrop to everything, which is COVID, right? When you have a co-working space, we're not just a co-working space, but when you have a co-working space business model and then a pandemic hits, everything changes, right? And so we weren't sure how quickly things would come back, if things would come back, and what they would look like when they did. And so it's through the great work of Nora and her team, and each team member wears many hats, that not only did things come back, but they came roaring back. And that's now our challenge, right? As we look at this new variant, are our working spaces set up to have the kind of separation that we now need? We planned the other thing, right? Now it's, what does this new thing look like? And that's going to be some near-term challenges, but it's been incredible. And I want to echo, it's about setting an example about how to do work. We've got a great opportunity in front of us. And so the members on this call who haven't seen this space, you got to check it out. It's incredible. The party deck, if you will, the third floor outside area is one of those areas, and that you just asked about, for meeting spaces, especially with people being more comfortable outdoors. So check it out. You got to see it. There's some really cool stuff going on over there.
That meeting space is also a great place to work. The Wi-Fi works great out there, and it's just, in the summer, there's nothing better.
Fantastic. Nothing but a good testimonial from Mark and from Scott. All right, looks like we are got all of our questions answered, and
I'll just add one more. Yeah. Jason, I feel like, sometimes those of us who are in a lot of DMI meetings know exactly what's going on downtown, or think we do, but I'm not sure how many folks know about the pop-up program. Maybe that's a better question for, I don't know who that's a better question for. I know you and Nora are both involved in it, but maybe you could talk a little bit about that program before we wrap up. And then as folks are going to State Street tonight for the night market, they can have that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nora, me, you, and
I think you should go ahead, Jason, because I'm only loosely affiliated with this compared to your
yeah, but
involvement.
your loose affiliation was at the beginning, and I was at the end. But the beginning, you really helped set some framework for what we wanted to do. So the pop-up shop program came out from something called the Downtown Group, which is a group of stakeholders, diverse group of stakeholders looking to create, vibrant, equitable, and welcoming downtown for everyone. And we really wanted to be intentional with how we come back after the pandemic. And there unfortunately are several vacancies on State Street. And we had a partner in JD McCormick who had, I think, I can never remember the address. I think it's 440 and 444. It's the two storefronts closest to Lisa Link Peace Park, right? If you're facing it on the right-hand side, on the opposite side from the BIDS, Madison Central Business Improvement District's Visitor Center. JD McCormick said, we want to do something with this space. So then DMI looked at a whole series of models, including Viroqua. We looked at Memphis, Norfolk, all these different cities that are running these pop-up shop programs. Because of the Downtown Group, which already had the membership of Camille Carter, the president and CEO of the Black Chamber, Jessica Cavazos, the president and CEO of the Latino Chamber of Wisconsin, and then Macy Herr, the president and CEO of the Hmong Chamber. We also had Matt Miklajeski, Saran Oak, Ruth Rollick from the city, and then really importantly, Tiffany Kinney from Madison Central Business Improvement District, all came together and said, let's create an incubator program and a pop-up shop program at the same time in these spaces. And so right now there's an application open. It closes, I think, today or tomorrow for businesses that are members of the Black, Latino, and Hmong chambers to take up residence in one of the two. There's two storefronts, and that program should be happening later this fall. We're very excited. I know they have at least 10 applicants. That's when I last saw late last week or early this week of different groups, and the selection committee is helping there. It's being backstopped by the Community Development Authority of Madison, so the CDA. So it really is just an amazing program. And the whole idea is this is a pilot program to have this or types of programs like this happen all throughout the city, right? On Atwood or on Raymond or on Sherman or on Monroe Street, wherever that is, to be able to get and to have businesses to try out bricks and mortar retail and to see if this is for them, but also have the backstop of groups like StartingBlock or like the Market Ready program, right? That can answer the questions about inventory or tax law or whatever it is, the questions that any entrepreneur needs to have. So this is a really fantastic program. We also should thank our friends at the WEDC. I don't know if Alex or anyone is on today, but WEDC is paying $10,000 to any business moving into a vacant storefront throughout the entire state of Wisconsin. But certainly that helps the downtowns in our state, and in particular downtown Madison. So it really is a great public-private partnership that I think many people should be proud of. And we're very thankful for everything that Nora has given for that program as well. Did I get everything right, Nora? I think
You got everything. You're fabulous, Jason.
Good.
So the only other thing to mention is that other landlords have kind of come out of the woodwork who are interested in also offering some of their spaces just based on relationships and some other things. And so there may be some opportunities in the future for Main Street and the entrepreneurial space to work together in a really effective way, because many of the needs of Main Street are the needs of the entrepreneurial community and the startup community. You know, you call them different things, but everybody is entrepreneurs, whether you're on Main Street or you're in an office in a beautiful building. So some of those same challenges exist for both: the need for benefits, the need for childcare, the need for, living wages, support, the need for, legal services, marketing services, and, true support to get rolling. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of all of this.
Yeah, in fact, I think we're going to see a lot more of this downtown, and I think that's great. I have the good fortune of serving on the Wisconsin Downtown Action Council, so we're talking through that about our friends in Wisconsin. We've got the relationship with Nora, but I also want to note, honestly, I don't know that we would be here without particularly someone that's on this call right now who was a pioneer in the pop-up shop business, ULI. Ann Morrison and the team did an amazing job with the Good Day pop-up shop. Was it 2 winters ago in the American Exchange? All 3 of those businesses have launched into their own bricks and mortar, one in Haledale, one in Eau Claire, and one on Monroe Street. So just amazing work there. And then also Fiore Companies and Grant Fauci and the 100 State Foundation also did a pop-up suite program. So this has happened before. And I think we can replicate this. And the hope is that some of these businesses become permanent brick and mortar businesses, right? And that this is a really good way to test to see if retail or whatever you want to do is right for that location. And so I think this is a win-win all around for everybody. So thank you to Nora, and honestly, Anne, thank you, because if you, Ben, Emily, Mark, Brad, Tom wouldn't have piloted this a few years ago, we may not be where we are today.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I don't think we deserve such a shout out, but we are, street level retail is really important. It's important to have unique retail, and it really, it's a challenge. So it needs support from landlords and from the whole community.
Absolutely. Any final last questions for Nora? All right, we gave people back some extra time. You're all very welcome. Ann Morrison, any final words?
No, just thank you, Nora. Thank you to the StartingBlock board and our board members who are involved across to create this collaboration. Jason, I have nothing else to add. I put the link for the night market in there. Jason's mentioned the upcoming DMI events, and that's all I've got.
Great. Well, and I just wanted to, again, thank all of you for the opportunity today, and also just give a shout out to, my board of directors. They've made all of this work possible and gone along with some of my ideas and other things. And so that support is super invaluable. And then also just an important shout out to my team too. There are 3 of us working full-time managing a 50,000 square foot space and doing all this other stuff. It's a lot of work for 3 people. So, when you see Mark Yarmoff and Caleb Walters out and about, give them a high five too, or a fist bump, because they're doing really important work and helping to support the vision for StartingBlock.
Nora, thank you again for all you're doing for StartingBlock for downtown. Know that you have a friend in DMI. We are here to help. We've got so many ties through Mark, through Pam, through Scott, through so many things. Anything you need, I know you and I are bouncing about 3 or 4 different projects. Balancing those now. We can't wait to get some of those started up. But know you have a friend here in DMI, and we're here to help however we can.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you at the night market or a Forward Fest event the last day of today. Talk to y'all soon.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye now.